Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. That could Katanji one. Yeah, when I was seeing she was getting appointed, I was wondering like what
Yeah,
all the hoopla was.
bro, and she's
And then
solo too.
yeah, when I saw her credits,
That's black, black.
I was like, yeah, yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, you can be black, but
Yo,
she's like
Jeff,
black, black.
Jeff. When I saw
She's
her
like
in the
jet black.
hearing, I was like, yo, my Supreme Court judge got sister locks.
Yeah,
I was
facts,
like, my Supreme Court
facts,
judge got sister locks.
facts. That's how I felt. That's how I felt like with the with Jean Pierre, the White House press secretary.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's wearing her hair out, bro. I was
Yep.
like, I rock with that. I
Yep.
rock with that. Like, I was so lit. Like, you remember when I told you I was like, I feel like getting a new tattoo. I thought about it. I ain't gonna lie. I really thought about it. I was that lit.
What
like,
was it gonna be of? Lit. What was it gonna be of?
I was just gonna get like a huge
just a Haitian flag. Darwin,
what are you doing here?
It's challenge day.
welcome back, challengers. This is season 1, episode 5 of Challenge Day. I'm your man's Darwin. You can find me on Twitter at Darwin_Darko.
And I'm Jeff. That's Jeff, not Jeffrey. Hey, we appreciate y'all coming through and giving us another look, man. We're definitely around on different social media platforms. We're on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And our handle is at bruh. I can't talk. It's at another challenge day. Once again, it's at another challenge day. I don't know what's going on. My whole mouth just decided not to work today.
Well, I had to wake you up then. But before we get started, I wanted to mention, so if you might have seen the previous episode was a little different, at least the full show was 1.4. Man, we had some troubles back then, man. Some technical difficulties.
Yeah,
So we had to upgrade and hopefully we won't have those snafus
sure
in the future. But it did kind of give us a new perspective on formatting. So it might be a little different from a couple episodes before. And you see, we still put out a couple of clips. So maybe the audience couldn't, be more. It could be more consumable for the audience. So
yeah, absolutely.
Just a little callback on that, and hopefully you keep checking out the show, and you got the extra videos now. So make sure you hit that like button. But
sure, subscribe as well.
Yep. So make sure you subscribe. But it wouldn't be Challenge Day if we didn't lay out our own challenges. So how was your week, bro? How'd you handle things?
Yo, dang, I was just thinking about this earlier. Exercising patience in traffic.
Road rage.
So I'm not like I don't have road rage. Like I'm what you would call an offensive driver. Right? But I really be chilling though. I really just be chilling. Like I really be chilling on the road for real. Like I'm not one of those crazy like drivers with DC plates. If you're in DMV, you know what I'm talking about. If you got DC plates, you know how they drive. Anywhere you are in the DMV, anyone with DC plates, you know how they be driving. Yeah. So I forgot what road I was on. It was one of those main roads. I can't remember, but like, actually, it might have been on the Beltway. Actually, I think it was on the Beltway. So I'm driving back home. Right, I'm just chilling, just having a a decent time, and I'm playing my music. I'm just just cruising. A nice night drive, cruising or whatever.
Just driving for fun?
Just no. I was coming from a friend's place.
Okay.
We was just kicking it, just having a good time, just kicking it. And I was just going to the crib. I was just chilling, just vibing. And I actually like night drives though. Actually, since you mentioned it, I actually do like night drives. Where I can just be out on an open road somewhere, just kind of helps you clear your mind and all that stuff. But neither here nor there. This guy, I was like farthest to the left, but not all the way to the left, like that lane right before all the way to the left where the median is. This guy in this random pickup truck. However you want to perceive who might be in that pickup truck.
What kind
We're
of
not gonna
place
go there.
did he have Florida tags on? Did he have Florida tags on that plate?
He probably had a gator on standby for it.
Yeah, don't get it at you, boy. Don't mess with him.
So, he tried to like he was. You can tell that he was trying to make his exit, right? I mean, but because I'm chilling, but I'm always looking at my rearview mirrors though, because there's always these crazy drivers. So I'm always looking at my rearview mirrors, even when I'm just chilling. And I kind of saw him kind of pulling up on me pretty quickly, on the left side of me. So I was already watching him, and he got past me, and then I guess the gap between myself and the car that was in front of me, that was in the same lane as he tried to get between us, and I think he misjudged a little bit, slammed on his brakes. So because I was already watching him, I was already slowing down, because I'm like, yo, you know how you can see people driving and you can tell yo, he's gonna do something stupid. So I already had that in my mind. I was
to drive a little bit differently.
Exactly. I was like, let me try to
times.
Absolutely. So I'm keenly watching him, and he jumped right in front of me, and tried to get to his exit. I mean, he made it, but he could have caused a 7-car pileup. Just the way that he literally.
But everybody else was fine.
Yeah, everybody else was fine. I mean, there was one person that kind of react erratically because they probably wasn't paying attention, and they kind of scared, and they kind of you know what I'm saying,
yeah.
So fighting the steering wheel, trying to get control, whatever. But this guy, bro, and you know what blew me about it? It wasn't even the exit that he was supposed to get off of. You know how people get off on the exit and they're like, oh, I got off one exit early. It wasn't even the exit he got off of. It was the very next one. Because I was still watching him. He was still on the road. He went to the exit and came back on. Came back on and then got on the next one.
You about to kill people off of just rushing somewhere. It'd be like this. I be in traffic sometimes, and people be riding the median, flying by. We be in traffic. You sit in traffic, people be riding the median, trying to get to where they're going faster than. I don't need to be nowhere that bad.
Yeah,
I don't need to be in I'm going to work. I'm risking my chance because something could be in the median up ahead. They're speeding through this because they're trying to skip traffic, and so it's I could potentially, I'm going to be late to this job, but I could die, and then it's was it worth dying for the job?
Right.
For your job? But you're going to be late, but you can potentially get another job, or you can just get reprimanded, or they could be it's all right, bro. I know there was traffic, and it could be nothing, slap on the wrist. But you have got to put yourself in a lot of bad positions yesterday and the day before yesterday for you to be that desperate to get to where you got to go. You ain't making enough time and planning ahead, even if it's not work, even if it's a birthday party or whatever the hell you going to. It's what are you doing? It's not worth it. So
it's not.
And so I'm I have to have that patience because it's just I just want to make it home.
Yeah,
I'm trying to make it home, and a lot of people die on the roads every year.
Yep, and that's a very good point, because it's you start to, especially driving for as long as I've been driving, and obviously you've been driving even longer than me. So you start to understand and realize a lot of different things as far as how people drive. I used to always tell people this, driving is not difficult. It's driving on a road with other people that make it challenging.
Yeah.
Right. Because not everybody has this.
It's big old trust. It's a big old trust activity.
Literally.
Activity.
Literally. And I realized that the times that I narrowly missed getting into car accidents, it's because I was being patient. Right. And because I was, again, we talk about awareness, right? We talk about awareness, right? And just having awareness of the people around you. When I say I'm constantly looking at I remember Pops used to always tell me this when he was first teaching me how to drive. And honestly, really, I kind of already knew how to drive. I just allowed him to feel like he was teaching me at the time. Because I was I was already driving before that when I was really not supposed to.
How does this thing work?
Right?
What is this thing here? How does this work? Oh, okay.
But I was I was just trying to allow my father to be a father. We're gonna be talking about black fathers later. But I was kind of giving him that grace, you know what I'm saying? So but I remember one thing he told me that always stuck with me. He was like, he's always telling me, like, Jeff, always check your mirrors. You need to always check it. Because he said that he used to watch me as I was driving just to see how often I would check my mirrors. And then he would tell me, like, when we were at a stoplight, he would be like, always check your mirrors. He used to tell me that like 7 or 8 times. Always check your mirrors. He's like, I check the mirrors every 5 seconds. That's literally what he told me. Right. And he kept telling me that. So it kind of got ingrained in my mind to just do that. So now when I'm driving,
so you did learn something from that lesson.
Yeah, so I did. So I'm always checking my mirrors. I'm always checking my mirrors. You know what I'm saying? So like, and because again, awareness and checking my mirrors, I was able to at least like prepare myself and kind of like brace myself to just see what this nut was doing on the road. But yeah, like you said, man, like people just doing random, and he's just irrational dumb stuff like that.
He's randomly
putting people's lives in danger.
Just like at a whim.
Yeah.
At a whim, bro. And like he's not gonna pay any consequences if people behind him got in accidents. He's gonna be gone off that exit.
Absolutely.
And out of there.
And that's a fact. And we know hit and runs are big here in the DMV area.
Yeah.
Just like they are in Florida,
especially
they are big here in DMV. Especially, man. Like
you hit and run all the time.
Yeah, get up out of there. So that would be my challenge, and the challenge that I'm still progressing in overcoming is increasingly being patient, making sure I'm being patient when I'm driving
in traffic,
specifically in traffic, because you got some wild people out here. So that's what I can share.
All right, right on. I feel that. My challenge is basically back to the callback. Man, this whole project of ours that we got going on here is a learning process. Like when you look ahead,
it's gonna make a man out of you.
You see 10,000 hours. You're gonna have to put this thing is gonna make me into another beast. But I can see ahead, and I'm like from 101, from level 1, level 2 of like getting to know how to do this whole project. I had to learn video editing.
Yeah.
Video editing. I didn't even have video editing software.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a bad recording last time, and the video property, the audio was salvaged. So that's what we put out last week was a audio alone version. But it's just so funny because these are the kinds of things that'll happen through this whole growing process. I remember one of the episodes where my audio was all messed up, where my volume was lower than yours, and I had to put in a graphic to disclose that kind of thing. So but now I know how to do graphics for the words and the text because I was learning off of that, and splicing in little random graphics and stuff. So this whole thing is a challenge. It is a challenge for my week.
I see what you did there.
Challenge from
I see what you did there.
the very first recording. So I too am progressing and getting stronger and getting better and getting like more knowledge and more experience. Like I'm gonna come out of this joint and be like, I know Kung Fu.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I have mastered this.
Working off of some free software or something like that just to make this happen. So your man Tucker Carlson was slammed by ex-RNC chair after black judge comments. So he was lampooned by former RNC chair Michael Steele over his criticism of Joe Biden's federal picks. So what happened is during his show last Monday, Carlson added to by the way, I'm reading from Newsweek, so you can find this article there at Newsweek. Credit them, shout out to them for providing this. So not to say that they're the most reputable source, but they get to the point on this one. So during his Monday night show, Carlson added to the condemnation from Republican figures of a president's nomination to the benches, specifically the number of appointed Black females. That was his gripe. Biden is nominating all these Black women. So much. This is reverse racism, right? This guy is yelling out. So he suggests that Biden is not making his diverse picks based on merit and is discriminating demographics who do not vote for Democrats.
It's kind of like it's conceptually the same argument that's made with like affirmative action in colleges.
Mm-hmm.
Affirmative action, and obviously either that or having a merit-based system as far as accepting students.
Yeah,
it's the same debate.
Debate. So
yeah,
we bring up that debate, but it's not. It ain't got nothing to do with this, though. He's just latching it on so he can have some sort of credibility to the idea, but there isn't any. So his overall point is dismissed. He dismisses the easy way to refute this. He just dismisses it, saying that Biden's picks are an attempt to ensure that what the rebuttal is, well, Biden's just trying to kind of make the federal judiciary look more what the country looks like. And he just dismisses it. How he dismisses it, he's saying, okay, so his particular statistic is that, what is this here? He said, so 97 federal judges confirmed by Biden. 97, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, guess how many of those were white men? 5. See, 97, and he only had 5. He's reverse racisming. Whatever that is. Racisming. He's reverse racism. We got him, right?
Yeah,
but it's like, but my G, you're taking this sample size. Your sample size is too small.
It is too small. The sample size is a little small there. Yeah.
So if anything, so it's like, okay, if the fucking Black population is around, what is it, like 16%, 15, 16%, something like that? Or is it 13? After Ketanji Brown Jackson was sworn in as the first Black woman justice of the Supreme Court in 2022, the American Bar Association reported that of the 1,409 sitting Article 3 judges in the U.S., can you guess what percent? Because remember what I said before, it should be something like what, 6?
Yeah.
6 to 7%?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Just 4% were Black women, with 16 states having no federal trial judge of color. Trial judge
of color? Wow, that's interesting.
And how many niggas be going to trial?
Yeah, that.
And ain't no judge that look like you in 16 states.
Things that make you go,
But you know what? There's no such thing as systemic racism. Let's not teach this in the schools. Florida just canceling all of history books that talk about Black history. But hey, this is exactly what CRT is talking about. Because CRT is a college level course that that dissects things like this.
It absolutely
so
is.
That they say, hey, wait a minute, maybe there's some racism in the judiciary. We should study how race has caused different results.
Yeah.
Historically, with all the data that we have of all the people that are locked up, all the people that have been executed, that's come through the judicial system. Let's see. Let's check. And guess what? They found it. They found it in abundance. But of course, 16 states, if that's not like whatever happened to a jury of your peers, you go to that court and trial and like you see nothing but white judges every time. You see nothing but white people in the jury box.
Yep, absolutely.
The attorney's white. The prosecutor, the DA is white. You know, and you walk into this room wearing Black skin. That don't feel constitutional to me. But Tucker Carlson is mad because Biden is trying to get the number a little bit higher, because mathematically, if we have a higher population size, a population sample, we can see that, 97 judges and 5 of them are white, but we are making up for a lot of lost ground.
It's a lot of ground absolutely being covered here that, and honestly, with Biden, I think he's, he's just he's just trying to help a brother out. I think in this particular case, I mean, obviously there are positions that I have that I don't agree with Biden, but there's certain things I'm like, I applaud Biden for doing that, man.
I think he doesn't trust, and he's saying it flat out. It's a loud ass dog whistle. He doesn't trust the judgment of a black woman. He was saying the same thing about Kamala Harris being VP. And just like the simple fact of them making decisions that matter to society, that affect civilization, he doesn't trust them at all to make those decisions, to make those choices, and to render judgment.
Do you think it's limited to that black women or women in general?
Well, particularly he's making this case about black women currently. So I'm I can expand this, but like I want to keep that focus on that same energy that he was giving for that. Currently, man, there's over 1,400 federal judges. Just white men alone. We're not even talking about white women or black men. Just white men alone is 55%. 55% of these federal judges are white men, and so Tucker Carlson is worrying about, hey, this doesn't look like America when Biden does this. You know what doesn't look like America?
Which America are you talking about?
Well, he's gonna have to pick one. He's gonna have to pick one and say something. Then pick one and say something, because the America that he has right now, right, the real America that has the numbers behind it, has 55% of these federal judges are white men. America does not have 55% white men as a population to where that looks like the population. So Tucker Carlson, if that's the argument, right, you're saying that, 97-5, it doesn't look like America. This doesn't look like fucking America either.
Tucker Carlson has found a niche, and he's just always going.
His niche is racism.
He's gonna milk it. Well, yeah. It's that, and it's salacious news, right? Or creating salacious news, right? Like, and creating false equivalencies, obviously, like as far as this goes. So I don't know. It's when I hear certain names, like I think my mind automatically shuts off. Like it just like it completely shuts off, and just like it's just one ear and out the other. Like, all right,
But he's influenced a large part. He has like probably the highest ratings, since Bill O'Reilly was influencing millions and millions of people every night. Spewing this garbage, has no facts, but like it's so easily debunked. It's so easily debunked. Like, here's the numbers. Here's the overall numbers. There's 55% is white men. Like, why are you mad? Like, you can't even. It still isn't even adding up to the number that should be proper.
Your inference makes sense, right? As far as black women, though, but to say, because he may just not like black women in general, right? Just like, I don't like black women, right? Because it may just be that, right? But to say black women's judgment, like,
because they're going to be in a position of judges.
Yes, that's correct. But I personally don't even think he's probably even thinking about it that way. He's just like it sounds like to me that he just don't like black women, and obviously black people in general. So
you just don't like black people in general.
Yeah. So I don't even think it's a judgment thing, because it's like, I mean, if you look at the person's credentials, how could you even think that, right? Like,
but this is the same thing they did. But they did this with Ketanji Brown Jackson. She is literally probably the most qualified.
Yeah, she's the most qualified for that role.
Everybody that's on there.
Yeah. She's.
But they didn't think she was qualified at all. They didn't think she should have been there at all. And that Biden he should open up the chances. He said, Biden said, "Yo, I am putting a black woman on the Supreme Court." He said, "That's what I'm going to do." And he told you that before he did it, and he did it. Right? Some people might call that pandering, right? But some people might call that representation. It's like
I call that as far as from Biden's perspective, I call that just having integrity, and saying that you're gonna do something that you said that you were gonna do, and you did it. We may not like it.
Yeah,
there are people who may not agree with it, but you said you were gonna do it, and you did it. And for me, I'm like, you know what?
Yeah,
I can't knock that.
And that was one more to like making the Supreme Court look like America. This shouldn't be the Supreme Court. America doesn't look all white.
Yeah,
like.
Am I
as much as people try to deny it, it's like we are a colorful society.
Yeah, that's a fact. And like, and my thing with Ketanji, like, when I heard that she was being appointed, the first thing that I did was, let me see that it's not just a diversity thing that he's trying to do. Let me see if she's actually qualified. When I looked at her cred, I didn't care what her color was. I was like, I want to see the creds.
No, fuck that shit. I cared.
Okay, for me, I mean, because I think representation matters as well. But like, this is gonna affect my life personally though. So
Bro,
I'm like, I need to make sure that you have the best.
They got.
My thing is this.
Did you do that? But did you do that for Amy Coney Barrett?
Amy, who's I'm not really sure.
That's the one Trump appointed, the lady that Trump appointed to the Supreme Court.
Oh, I didn't really follow that, so I don't know. But any person, no, because I didn't really follow that specific thing, to be honest. Like, but any person that I'm like I'm hearing about.
But like, why did you look up Ketanji Brown Jackson?
I look up everybody. I'm
so
saying if
Amy Coney Barrett was one of them,
right? But I wasn't aware of who she was. I just responded to you like, who is that?
But I'm not. But I'm talking about during the time, right? During the time when it was happening. Did you look at it back then during that time? You didn't get the news back because it made big news. Also, it's a Supreme Court pick.
Yeah, but I wasn't following it. I told you that I'm like really in my own bubble a lot of times. For real. I was not following it at all. Like the Trump administration, I wasn't even following like that at all because it was a circus. It was a circus. So part of it could honestly have been just me ignoring it because it was a whole circus. Like I wasn't even in that. But like with any person I hear that I come in contact with somehow, just like maybe I just randomly go read an article and I'm like, oh, who's this person? I always do that. Like I always look at the credentials. Like, and that's on every level. It can be government, even in my job. I look at the credentials of even my colleagues. Yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like that's something I personally always do that. Like you remember that time when I told you I was for another example, when I told you that I recently started to get into this whole therapy thing because people were talking about it. I was like, all right, let me check it out. It took me like 3 weeks to find a therapist because I'm looking at each person and I'm reading it. Like I personally always do that. Like I always do. It doesn't matter who it is, right? But I think it's a plus, obviously, that she's representation. Like just like the White House speaker, who's Haitian.
Karine Jean-Pierre.
Yeah, you remember how lit I was, right?
Karine Jean-Pierre. Yeah, I feel seen.
Super lit. Of course, like I was super lit when she was, But you know what pissed me off too, actually, during the Trump administration is when they appointed what's his name, Dr. Carson. When they appointed Ben Carson. Ben Carson.
The HUD.
When they appointed Ben Carson to HUD, I was like,
because it said urban.
Like that, like
because it said urban. Because the word urban,
and it was obvious that was why, right? So that pissed me off. Like I was like,
yeah. So now it's like, but then they'll be like, oh, don't you want representation? Don't you want? When that happens, I thought you say you want representation, bro. You think I'm a fool? Is what you're doing.
Yeah.
You think you look at me, you look at people that look like me, and you think, oh, they're fools.
Yeah,
and
it made me feel like it basically, to me,
it's insulting.
Saying like, yeah, it is. I was like I'm not an idiot, bro. Like I can see why you pointed him to that. Like it definitely made me feel like, bro, like you really think like we just out here we just idiots. Like we don't see we don't see your motive here. Like that's
and Ben Carson put himself in a position where he was the tool to freaking be exploited.
Just like
he was a witting idiot, if you will. Both of them.
A fancy raccoon.
Fancy raccoons, both of them. This is one of these zombie myths that just keep on coming back from the dead. Is the idea of Black fathers and their relationship with their kids, right? So I was talking to somebody the other day and they were getting at a particular point about the breakup of Black families, right? The historic result of what Black families what constitutes the Black family in a centralized space, particularly, right? And I say, oh, because these broken homes, that's why we got all this crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the truth of the matter is, they've done studies on this, and the foundation of this crime argument rests on a notion that these families are toxic and unproductive and not loving, and these kids are being raised without fathers. and these kids are being raised without fathers, saying that these kids now end up running the streets and causing all this crime because these damn houses are broken. It's the whole thing about welfare queen and concept. The black women is encouraged not to quote unquote work for a living. They're just there to make babies and collect welfare. This was a Ronald Reagan trope, right? When the reality of how people are actually living is nothing like that. The important part of what you to make that argument make any sense is actually if the black father was not in the picture at all. Family dynamics looks way different now in 2023 than it did in the 70s, than it did in the 30s and 40s, right? Families are made up of all different races now, right? You have, some people have fur babies, for example, right? Some people have adopted kids, right? Some people have marriages previously to this one, and they had kids in the previous marriage and now coming to the same household. So families just look different. It's not the 2.3 kids, white picket fence dream anymore. It's not like that. It just don't look like that, right? People are co-parenting and coexisting. So my attempt to debunk all of that bullshit is with some statistics and some numbers here. So they're in the National Library of Medicine, all right, Center of Biotechnology Information. There's a study here. So race and ethnic differences in non-resident fathers' involvement after a non-marital birth. So one, just because the black couple weren't married while the child was being born doesn't mean they were married after, and doesn't mean that they don't have an amicable relationship with each other. They just don't get married because whatever reason, insert reason here. But it doesn't automatically mean a broken family. That doesn't mean that just because at birth the two people were married. So you're going to take that statistic and you're going to run with it. That sounds like some Tucker Carlson type shit. And also realize this study is very precise at what it's looking into. Differences in non-residential fathers. So specifically, focusing on non-residential fathers. So this is going to be across race and across the country, right? And so here's the results. Overall, Black non-resident fathers were significantly more likely to spend time and engage in activities with their children as compared to Hispanic fathers, but not white fathers. However, Black fathers also shared responsibilities more frequently and displayed more effective co-parenting than Hispanic and white fathers. So in terms of how often they see their kids, how often they interact with their kids, how often they do things that are responsible to kids, like whether picking them up or taking them to appointments and stuff like that. That's the results of that they found here. So I'll read on a little bit here. So since the 1960s, the proportion of U.S. births that occur outside of marriage has risen dramatically. In 2015, fully 40% of all births, 40% in the U.S. were non-marital, with much higher fractions among major race, ethnic minority groups. Mind you, this is just talking about the birth part. 72% for Blacks and 54% for Hispanics. Although many non-marital births occur, listen up now, although many non-marital births occur within a committed relationship, unmarried couples are likely to break up soon after a baby's birth. By age 5, nearly 2/3 of children born to unmarried parents will be living away from their biological father. So that putting out there, right? So they're 2/3 going to be living.
These are two people who are just in a relationship. They're not married.
Right. Exactly.
And they're more likely, 2/3, 66%, they're more likely to separate after giving birth to the child. Okay.
Right. So the term fragile families is often used to describe unmarried parents and their children, to highlight the greater risk of relationship dissolution and living in poverty than is generally found among married parents and their children. So definitely it's a lot easier. You have dual income and you're living together in one household. The bills is the same. You don't have to split between two households. So there's a likelihood that poverty it can happen. All right, but
How do you,
we're measuring
Mhm,
absent fathers. Gotta stay
mhm.
focused on the point at hand. But a thorough study like this will give you all those extra details.
So let me ask you a question before we move further. As you were reading that portion of this study here, what did you initially assume in your mind is the cause for um, these unmarried parents to separate after these 2/3 of unmarried parents to separate after the
Well, I mean,
childbirth?
that's just America. That's just the numbers. I mean, we have
Mhm. No, but I'm asking a specific
no,
question,
but
right? Like,
what
why
did
do
I
you
think?
think? Like, yeah, what did you think?
But that's what I'm saying.
Like prior to actually reading this article, what did you think in your mind why that happened? Why there's 2/3 of these unmarried couples? Why that happens? As far as they just decide to do this
Well, no,
versus time scale.
but like, when I answer, I say this because this is America because I know America. This is kind of like how we operate around here. Like
Okay, that's
we
fair.
don't we're not like some other cultures are
Yeah,
like
it's a Western society. It's not the same
yeah, it's a
as
Western
Eastern societies.
society. In
Yeah,
some other cultures, you get assigned who you're gonna
that's
marry, and
fair.
you that
I
marry
can
for your
accept
life.
that.
Divorce
Yeah.
isn't even an option. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And there's some
Yep.
other places push things like virginity and Puritanism.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So like people are in relationships that they don't want to be in
Mm-hmm.
for a long ass time. And it just ends up being that way. So like the way our culture is, like I imagine that's why the divorce rates have
That's why
always been
divorce rate is what it
high.
is. Yeah.
You know, I mean, it is what it is because we're Western society like that. That's just the way our
But
culture is set up.
so the reason why I even posed that question to you is because I think you hit it around the head. Like that's my conclusion as well. It's like this is just Western society. Like this is how Western society is how it functions. It is what it is. But I think the people who would oppose some of the points of the study, which is kind of like it's kind of hard to if they have the numbers here, right? But like people who would you know oppose this, I think their argument would be, well, if people want to, because there is people complaining about the marriage rates, divorce rates, things like that. Well, if you want to be able to improve those rates, then we should probably start adopting some of what these Eastern cultures are doing, right? But my thing is like, I mean, I can see how that could be a solution, but at the same time, I don't think that's just gonna happen in Western society. This is
But
Western society
yeah,
for a
you
reason.
also it's not like you can
Like
start
they're
from
not gonna.
scratch.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to
But
like
I don't think it's like let's totally adopt Eastern these Eastern societies and their philosophies. It's just why don't we take a couple of things from these Eastern societies if we want to improve this one specific area, right, of West society, which is long
but
term
here's the thing. It's like you have to.
I don't necessarily see a problem with that though. Like,
I'm not. I'm not.
because I
I'm
think
not. I'm
even in
not
Western society, you can pick up some things that work in another society. We can be like, okay, I can, I
right,
can
but it's not.
implement that.
But it ain't as clean as that. It ain't as clean as that to like.
That's fair. That's fair.
It ain't as clean as that because
That's fair.
there are things that you have to take the pros and cons kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that the example I'm about to give is a con, but through the American lens, it might be a con because certain things about those society that also prop up the ability to do things like build the family structure are, I don't know, universal health care also, so now we can have I know it's easier for me to have a kid because it's not going to cost me an arm and a leg just for the hospital bill to
I see what
deliver
you're
the
saying.
child.
I see what you're
So
saying.
you encourage kind of those kinds
Yeah.
of other behaviors when you take.
Because
So
the overall system
now
supports
America
it.
is like, well, that's socialism though. I'm like, but what are you trying to build families though?
Yeah.
If you're trying to build families, how about you pick up on a little socialism? So yeah, if you want to, you could look at it that way. So, but that's how those structures are put in place to have those different results. And the way our shit is set up, like it's set up, our system, from top to bottom is set up so that capitalism wins out, and racism wins out. You're gonna have the disparities in those different places, in those different cultures and subcultures, and lower, the smaller populations, that tend to be discriminated against in a bunch of different ways. And so the family structure may look different from what the dominant race or culture may be in this country. But here's some flat out numbers. Here's the data, and we can wrap this puppy up and bury it, never to be heard from again. So, right, the study is based on a stratified multi-stage probability sample with an oversample of children born to unmarried parents. So 3,709 were unmarried, 1,187 were married, right? Baseline.
One more time. What was that number? One more time.
3,709 were unmarried. 1,187 are married.
Okay.
Baseline in-person interviews with mothers and fathers were conducted shortly after the child's birth. Mothers in the hospital, fathers in the hospital, or elsewhere. Follow-up interviews with both parents were conducted with the child was about when the child was about 1 year old, 3, 5, and 9. Response rates among eligible parents at baseline were 87% for unmarried mothers and 75% for unmarried fathers. That's the population size, and that's the data how they collected this data. So this, when you talk about do your research, this is what doing your research looks like, right? Yeah. And they give you the exact the shortcomings to their research. You know, they didn't have 100% reporting, but there's a control that's set for that type of thing when you do the research, and you have your error bars, you know what I mean, give or take 10%, you know, kind of thing. Your outliers. This myth that these black households and fathers or these black men are deadbeat dads and all that kind of stuff.
That narrative got to stop. Yeah,
it's got to stop because these dudes, even though they're not living in the house, don't mean they're not good fathers. Yeah, don't mean they're not in their child's life. Fact. Doesn't mean that this child doesn't have a black man or an adult black man in his life giving him guidance. All right, there's some knuckleheads out there, and there's always going to be knuckleheads out there. Yeah. But to give into the trope, which is set by people like Tucker Carlson and other white supremacists, that black men are just bad fathers, bad at the whole father thing. You know, they're just sperm donors. We get a lot.
I think you hear it in our own community too.
We hear it in our community because we buy into the bullshit. Just like we had those black cops beating up and killing the black driver. You know, black people can help hold up white supremacy. Absolutely. Unbeknownst to them as well. This happens all the time, even with the drug laws back in the 90s. You know, the black community was really helping to push that. You know, it wasn't just Hillary Clinton. You know, and black community and the Black Caucus wanted it and was smiling, taking pictures and everything. But guess what? The statistics turned out different because white supremacy is gonna do its thing. And so, of course, it was black people that was getting stopped and frisked. Of course, it was black men that was getting arrested, which brings me to the next point about black men being exploited. Here in Massachusetts,
when I saw that article,
with the prison population the way it is,
what?
The way the prison population, this is just another form of chattel slavery. Because
that's the crazy
you locking niggas up for random bullshit. You having them sit in Rikers way before they even see a judge, which is going to be an all-white judge in 16 states, right? Just to end up in prison and get longer sentences. And then you say, okay, well, you want to get a year off your time? So what that kidney do? I heard you was not a drinker. I heard you don't drink. Oh yeah, what's up with that liver? What that liver do?
This is wild, bro.
This is organ harvesting of the prison population. Yeah. Of course, some people are gonna give, you know, they're like, man, I have 5 years, I have 6 years in here. Maybe they can't do that time. They ain't built for it.
It's so crazy.
And they could they could shave maybe 6 months off by giving an organ that they don't need anyways. You know, well, not that they don't need, but that they could you know, give it, because you can live, you know what I mean, without some, but they just make things a little bit more difficult. People are organ donors all the time if you have a family member that needs it. But they're giving people the chance to do that. And then you have good behavior. So you have a little good behavior, then you give them a little thing, and like, boom, back on the streets, just arrest your ass again. And now you got to give up another one. So we reading from MIT Tech Review here. What is the value of a human organ? They start off with here. It's a question that's been on my mind since I heard about a disturbing proposed change to be the law in Massachusetts that what I hate when I see Massachusetts in writing, I gotta say that damn word. Right? That word should not be with all those damn S's and C's and then S's. All right, yep. God damn it, in the middle of this freaking sentence. This is an S at the end just to kick your ass at the end. That would allow incarcerated people to swap their body parts for reduced prison sentences. That's right, prisoners who donate one of their organs or their bone marrow could be rewarded with anywhere between 60 to 365 days, so a whole year off of their sentence if that bill were to pass. Like, could a nigga get let's say a year in jail and donate a whole, you know what I mean, a whole organ to get out of jail? Yeah. But it's like, I was gonna say it's a get out of jail free card, but it's like, you kind of paid. My guy. You gave up a piece of you to get out of there.
Tooth for a tooth, eye for an eye kind of shit.
Yeah. It comes back to some biblical type shit, right? Mm-hmm. Paying back your debt to society, like with flesh.
Yeah.
Here, right? One benefit of the bill, according to one of its co-sponsors, is that it will broaden the pool of potential organ donors. It's true that there is a dire shortage of organs. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
They just be putting it in. They just be smuggling in.
They're trying to justify it however they can.
Oh my God! And the U.S. alone.
Because another thing that I wanted to quickly mention about that too is because in addition to that, anyone that knows even a little bit about that, there's a huge black market too when it comes to.
There's a black market too. That's what Bitcoin was all created for.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Silk Valley and all that stuff, and you also have, I mean, and the black market is even crazier overseas, especially India. India has a terrible black market. I mean, it's insane. Actually,
I didn't know that.
I wrote a paper on that too, some years ago, in my global bioethics class. But it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And some people try to finesse their way with the being on the Kennedy list, depending on like who you are, money, having connections, you kind of finesse your way to get in front of the line kind of thing. So so I understand. So I understand what they're trying to do here. And they're trying to appeal. No. I'm not, no, you gotta let me land the plane. Let me land the plane. I understand why they're trying to justify it, right? But at the end of the day, we know what the prison populations look like.
Yeah.
And I honestly, and it's in Massachusetts, and I'm like, I could easily see them be like, you know what? Let's specifically target prisons in Louisiana. In Mississippi.
Wait. How would Massachusetts do that? It's a state law.
No. I'm saying, like, as far as like states adopting the same thing.
Oh,
that's what I'm
just
saying.
like the way Texas do.
Yeah, and why did I say Louisiana and Mississippi? What's the obvious reason why I would say? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know, niggas.
So
as far as the eye can see.
I can see states absolutely adopting the same particular bill that came to pass in one way, shape, or another. If this is something that is somehow in some reality is acceptable to the masses, right? So, but obviously it was acceptable. It's acceptable in Massachusetts, apparently. So I just wanted to say all that because it's like this whole thing. I can see they're trying to appeal to people's emotions and the fact that that makes me look at the state of Massachusetts entirely differently now.
Yo, like you would have thought it's on the East Coast, it's the liberal coast and all that stuff.
But you still got Boston though. And we know how they get down in Boston.
Yep. From locking up disproportionately all these black men, wondering why niggas have this trope of the black father being absent. The system is against, just like the very system is designed to tear apart black families from the very start. They would just breed black people and then they somehow form a bond and form a relationship on the plantation, and then they would rip them apart and send the kids there, send the dad there after he gets a certain age, send him somewhere else, send the mother somewhere else so she could breed. So she could breed some more. To that point, then you send them off to you are rounding black people up across the country in these different jurisdictions putting them in jail, and now you're harvesting their lungs. Mm-hmm. All of this paints the picture of Black people, Black men, that and Ketanji Brown Jackson, we talked about with the federal judges earlier, like just Black people in society in general is just, everything is set up to try to get us to disappear. Just disappear, just be the help, just be in the background and do stuff and just like give us your lung, give us your labor, give us maybe even your ideas, give us your culture, but we don't want to really see you. We don't want to really, we'll just stuff you in the prisons. We'll just stuff you in these communities, and we'll redline you. We'll redline communities, and we will build bridges and we will build highways over your entire community so we don't have to fucking see you. Which brings us
like Elysium
to these fucking this housing discrimination that's been going on for a long time, for forever. Shout out Ben Carson for doing fuck all. That, even if he wouldn't even know where to fucking begin, all right, being the HUD secretary, right? People, Black families, more and more, and we have statistics on this now. All right, we have statistics on this now that these Black families aren't able to get appraisals, proper appraisals for their home the same way white families are.
Yes.
So you want to build, quote unquote, you want more nuclear families, right? You want to see this, you'll say because you're afraid of crime.
Yeah.
So if crime is really what you cared about, and poverty leads to circumstances that end up leading to people making bad decisions to then turn to something like crime.
Single parent homes too leads to that as well.
Single parent homes can. So people in dual with mother and fathers at home, they do crime too.
Yeah.
Right. But they tend to end up being a little bit more privileged to be able to get away with. Even Black privileged people can afford a lawyer, or they can afford to pay off somebody, whatever the hell they do, or even have the competence because they have the education to know how to deal with a particular situation, even if they handle it themselves because they had good schooling growing up, whatever, right? But part of how you get people out of poverty and how people have historically in America, in every facet, every race in America, part of the biggest thing to get out of poverty is home value.
Yes.
Is real estate.
Yep.
You buy a home, you invest in it, you pay your mortgage, over time you end up owning it, you did some upgrades, and potentially you might sell it, and this becomes what you used to pay your kids' tuition. This could be what you used to pay your retirement, what you used to bring your family from Haiti to come over, because now you have equity in your home.
Equity, and now you have some housing for them to live, so they ain't gotta,
Right. So the National Community Reinvestment Coalition has a headline, is headline here that mystery shopper testing in home appraisals exposes racial bias undermining Black wealth. So to introduce this whole thing, they go off that the way that homeowners lenders and policymakers use the term property value often implies that there is one organic, objective, correct definition of what someone's home is worth. But that ain't the case, bro. We already know that ain't the case.
Yeah, we already know some of this. Yep.
Right. But that is not the case. Of course, our cultural conception of property values obscures the fact that those values are often determined by human beings. These are called professional appraisers, right? They make mistakes like anyone else. Mistakes is doing a lot of heavy lifting in this one, right?
Appraisers, that's kind of crazy.
What?
So it's largely based on their discretion, like the appraisers themselves, or do they?
That's largely yes, but they could, of course. That's not saying only. It's not saying only.
Yeah, I know largely. It's not. But even so, I'm saying like their discretion is weighted more than these other elements that they use to appraise a home, like their actual discretion.
But we don't. The math ain't one like that because.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, what is it on a 100 point scale? Like, what is is it more of their discretion, or is it like these elements and then like their discretion weighs in like 20-30% of the overall 100% decision as far as
Okay,
like what the
well, they have some answers for you here. We could see how much is we could see how much the value of who the appraiser is in dollar figures, and they talk about this when we read towards the end here. It says, so how did they conduct this operation? So using interracial couples as testers allowed us to see whether the same home would be valued differently based on the skin color of the person presenting it to the appraiser. They had two goals with this investigation. The first was to determine whether the Black and white testers would be given the same treatment by the appraisers, right? The second goal was to determine whether the race of the perceived homeowner would affect the appraiser's valuation of the home. Results, our testing found that Black owners were treated worse than white homeowners. All right. The results, this is their statement, but here's some of the results. The results further showed that the appraisers assigned higher value to a home when they met with the white partner than when the same property was shown by the Black partner in the couple. So our white testers received valuations that were almost $7,000 on average. The most glaring example were a home that was valued 13% higher when the white spouse presented the home, a difference of $40,000. When this was in 2022, they released this, right? Like 30 years ago, 60 Minutes had did the same sort of operation.
30 years ago?
30 years ago.
Okay.
60 Minutes had did the same sort of operation. They put this, they got two guys, a Black guy and a white guy, right? Well, actually, this was on the, this wasn't on the appraisal end. This was more on the rental end, but it just shows how real estate, the overall discrimination in real estate. So either way, Black guy, white guy, they grew up together. They grew up in the same neighborhood. They stayed friends. They even went to each other's weddings, like when they got older. Like they knew each other for a long time. They still know each other till today, right? So this was 30 years ago. The Black guy goes, the white guy goes into the to the renter's office, to the leasing office for this. He's like, I hear you got a spot for lease. Let me check it out. All right. And so there's a white guy behind the desk, and he was like, oh, here's a key. The unit is such and such. And he says, oh, wait a minute. You know what? Sometimes that key's funny. Here's a master key, just in case. You know what I mean? That key doesn't work, right? And so the guy goes, he checks it out. He goes, checks it out. He comes back, and he's like, oh, it was a nice space. I have the application. I'll think about it. And if I decide to go with it, you'll be getting the application back from me in a couple of days, right? So he leaves, right? 10 minutes later, his Black friend that he grew up with, they have the same level of education, right? They are the same socioeconomic circles still, right? Same kind of job, same kind of work in terms of like, they're economically equivalent, right? Yeah. The one guy came dressed business casual. The Black guy came dressed business casual. He goes to the desk to the same white attendant because he's there 10 minutes later, right? And he asks him, I see you got something in the a place for rent. I'd like to check it out. And the dude was like, oh, I'm sorry. This lady called this morning and reserved it. Like she called and it's off the market. She reserved it that she's gonna be renting it out. So unfortunately, we don't have to show you. He goes, oh no, because I called earlier and you said you had, whoever answered said that it was available. He's like, yeah, she called and then it's sorry, it's off the market. He's like, oh, okay, all right, thanks. So the Black guy turns to leave, and the guy was like, all right, well, thanks for stopping by. God bless you.
You just have to add that at the end.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
Public service announcements. Not all Christians operate that way. I'm just saying. Not all
Christians
operate that way.
So there's no true Scotsman? Nobody's a true Christian? Like, if I'm getting a bunch of examples, this is how these Christians be acting. Like, one of y'all got to be a Christian. All of y'all not Christian? So who's the arbiter of who's a true Christian out here?
And that's the problem.
Because somebody's saying that about you right now, too. Somebody. You know what I mean? Who knows? So somebody out there can say that.
That's probably true.
Yo, they came back.
I think that integrity and character is a fundamental statement in a fundamental tenet in the faith, regardless of what your views are. Integrity and character, like that's just that
boy said, God bless you, right? And it's like
lied to his face.
He's like lied to the dude face through his teeth, but they got his ass. They caught his ass, yeah. The camera people came in. It's almost like Catch a Predator.
That's terrible.
Catch a Predator.
Yeah. They ran down on him. Yeah.
Catch a racist, right? Yeah. They came in there. They 60 Minutes came up in there. Was like, yo, you just told my man's, but the homie came here 10 minutes. You even gave him the fucking master key. He could be walking all over through wherever the hell he wanted to. Yeah. Would you even have? Let's say you had one. Would you have given the black guy the master key? Even, you know what I mean? Even if you did give him the regular key, like, yo, there was levels to this nigga's racism. Like, he even sent them off with the, you know what I mean? Trust God. You know what I mean? Go with God and all that. Like to the level of like
real problem. Yeah.
Like, we just saw you, and they came in. He didn't have a good answer, of course. You know, he's like, oh yeah, the lady did call, and she was pretty sure, be like, but you just gave. He's like, you just gave the other guy the key, and he was like, yeah, I did do that. That nigga had shit to say.
Yo. If that ain't like, that's like, if that ain't privilege, white privilege specifically, like being demonstrated right in front of you, I don't know what it is, bro. Like, it's like something like that is just kind of like if I'm the person that's there witnessing this happening, I'm just looking at this guy like, I'm just shaking my head like, this is your boy, like this is your man, like this is really how like y'all functioning in life for real, like. That's crazy.
Like, about 30 years ago, and shit ain't no different now, right? So we're talking about the discrimination that's happening in real estate, because it ties into how that's part of what people as Americans, no matter what race, is using to help build and construct a life. You know what I mean? Build a family. But there's some key takeaways from another study that the NCRC did in 2021. Here. And so after declining for much of the past 20 years, the national Black home ownership rate has persisted at 42% since between periods of 2016 and 2018, as low as it was back in 1970. While the rate of white home ownership increased to 73% in 2019, a record high.
So that's interesting, because I can see why you brought up that example from 30 years ago. So it's so I can understand the correlation there. Yeah, at least the connection there. Yeah. So
there's a 20 to 30% gap between Black and white homeownership rates, and this has persisted for more than 100 years. Despite Black homeownership increasing in the mid 1900s, African Americans go into greater debt for less valuable homes and receive less of a return on home ownership than whites. Less of a return. That's your appraisers. That's your appraisers right there. That's part of that.
It's also location as well, obviously.
It's also location.
That's location.
But
why
is the location the way it is?
The way it is because of redlining and
Exactly.
So I can see how.
So it's like, bro, why can't people be making these arguments about the Black community and the Black family and stuff, but like they refuse to look at the full picture. There's a history, not to say I'm going to excuse everybody to just, okay, Black people don't have any responsibility to themselves in terms of integrity, in terms of, manifesting your own destiny, but it's an uphill battle.
It is. And that's
through a system.
That's what it is. It is an uphill battle at the end of the day. It is.
So what people do is they end up pointing out folks that are exceptions to the rule. Like, yeah, this person, Obama became president, but like, nigga, he's one. He's one.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah,
right. And he's had to have a white mother to get to where he's at.
I was just gonna say that.
All right. He had to get a white mother to get with that. Now he's black. He's part of the tribe still, because there's plenty of them in our history that have, Thomas Jefferson has a lot of kids running around here, right? That was treated and had the same lived experience as darker hued people, right?
Yeah.
So there's a whole correlation here. There's a cause and effect, all right? And it's an uphill battle. So if holding the current rates of black home ownership formation and loss constant, then it would require approximately 165,000 additional new black homeowners annually over the next 20 years to get to 60% black home ownership in 2040. And remember, the white home ownership is 73%, right, of the white population, are homeowners.
Life on easy mode.
Right. So bold new approaches to housing finance. So now they do some predictions on what they think could be some solutions. Bold new approaches to housing finance and investing in community development is required to get to a 60% homeownership rate for African Americans. This is a goal at 2040. That's a long-term kind of goal. Even getting to a record level black home ownership rate of 60% will not bridge the white and black wealth divide. Remember, wealth building is very much tied to real estate and home ownership. At least that's how it's been set up in America. Entrepreneurship is another one, but like predominantly, this is a big one that's been through time. You buy a house back in the day, back 30, 40 years ago, when they weren't giving home loans to niggas, and it was $30,000 to buy that home. And now you're looking at us like, nigga, just go buy a home. Why these niggas ain't buying homes? And the minimum we could get for the same home is freaking $200,000. The same type of home. Matter of fact, you selling it for $200,000. You copped it at $30K, right? Not to mention the freaking the veterans benefits from fighting in Nam in World War II, and also come home and the GI Bill didn't apply to black soldiers as they did to white soldiers. So white soldiers were getting homes basically for free, and these black soldiers still couldn't even get, even though they served and they were promised that they would be able to get that. That's a whole nother story. And finally, the last point here, the black population with moderate incomes in geographic areas with affordable housing and low black home ownership rates offer strong opportunities to increase black American home ownership. So that will be investing in those specific communities could help turn the tide, turn the trend. But now you've been looking for to buy.
Yeah, and which is why this is.
And so now it's like, wait, why don't you just buy these interest rates? Bruh. Currently, the average black homeowner likely owns more in mortgage debt than their white counterparts on a house with less value. While the average first home of a black purchaser is valued at $127K, they also averaged $90,000 in mortgage debt. In comparison, the white first-time home buyers have an average home value of $139 with $75K in mortgage debt. So African Americans go into greater debt for a lower valued asset, thus weakening the returns that of this fundamental investment. And so those numbers are just like legit. You could just do the population study. You know what I mean? Who owns homes, and how much these homes are valued. You do the math and you see the percentage and how much they're valued currently to how much they bought it for. You could do that math. So like you could do your own math and figure this out, even if you don't believe me or believe this study. And the thing is, this not anecdotal because these are the larger overall numbers.
Yeah.
So this shit is fucking wild, man. It's even when we make a little bit of progress, even that little bit of progress, it seems like oppression to the oppressors, because a little bit more equality is happening, because we get a little bit more representation. That seems like oppression to somebody that was already in power.
Any reduction in power is always going to be threatening to those who are in power. That's just the nature of it. So it's like, so they're only acting and responding in the way that they are predictably. Like the way that they're responding is exactly how we should expect them to respond, right? Because they don't want to give that power. They don't want to give up the advantage that they have.
But this is the sort of stuff that we can't study in high school anymore. We can't study the history that got these places like this. In places like Florida, these books are being banned and they don't want the history. Like, wait a minute, we have to use the history. We have to study this stuff. We have to go back to history. What was the rates back in the 70s, right? We talked about, right? What was the rates in the 1900s? And let's see the rates then. Let's see how early we can go back to when they started keeping these records. And let's compare it to the rates now. But we need to be able to know that, okay, well, why were the rates like that back then? You don't say. Those kinds of actions was happening in society. Those kind of laws was in the books that caused this kind of ripple effect. Well, then guess what? These laws that are happening now with some shit like fucking giving away a goddamn kidney for lesser prison sentences. And then we're going to wonder freaking 30 years from now why we have such a high dialysis rate of Black people, 20 years from now. What up, fam? It's Darwin, the guy that was just talking. First off, thanks for watching and supporting the show. But I got to give y'all some homework. Your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to interact with the show. That means 1, hitting that like button, because I know you like our stuff. 2, make sure you subscribe so we can swim our way up your timeline whenever we drop new content. The third thing, please share the channel with your friends. Maybe they'll learn a thing about a thing or two. Oh, last thing, we're over here talking about what y'all talking about. So go ahead and carry that conversation on into the comments. We be up in there too. It's a throwback. I was listening to Wyclef, man. I was listening to Wyclef's that 2004 album. Yo, this 2004, I think
the Wyclef joint, or were you listening to like some? No, he said 2004 though, because I was thinking about Fugees. Fugees was 98.
Nah, I said I was listening to Wyclef. They had their thing. Okay. No, but hold on. What are you talking about? Fugees was 98.
Like when Fugees was really popping, it was like 98 when it was like really popping, right? I'm not saying that's when the album came out, but that's when they really got right, wasn't it? Was it 98?
No,
like
that was 92, bro. They started.
Oh, it was 92. Oh, okay, I'm way off.
92 to 97. They still had stuff.
No, you know what I'm probably thinking about?
This nigga threw me off like I was crazy, man. I was recording and everything. I had all my shit ready.
I know you was. I mean, you could have recorded this whole thing. I know you was.
You talking about?
But I'm thinking about maybe I'm thinking about Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Maybe I'm thinking about that. When did that come out?
I feel like so are you not part of the conversation? You thinking of Lauryn Hill, you thinking of Fugees. I'm here talking about I said Wyclef.
Yeah, because they all
this nigga went elsewhere.
They all connected.
This nigga went elsewhere with it.
So no, but in my head I was thinking like, was it Fugees busting? Because when you were talking, I was thinking like 3 different things. I was like, what did they busted in 98? And then you said 92. Oh, 92.
Welcome to Haiti. Creole 101. This was 2004. Wyclef put this joint out. So Fugees was doing their thing in early mid 90s.
I feel like I remember this album.
And then, throughout that success, they all came out with solo projects. So Lauryn Hill came out with Miseducation. Yeah. Wyclef came out with several other albums. And Praz, I think is it Plaz or Praz? I think Praz. Was that the name of the dude? The third guy.
I'm not sure I can see.
Right. And so he let me see. So yeah, Praz. That was his name. And so this was a sneaky one that probably didn't do numbers and like a lot of people didn't really like give it time, but it's Haitian music heavy, it's compa heavy, it's Creole heavy. Matter of fact, he puts Creole 101 on there as kind of like a subtopic, right?
Honestly,
so you
listen to it. I didn't even know that he had his own albums, to be honest. I didn't even know that.
You didn't know Wyclef had his own album?
No, Praz. I didn't know that.
Praz? Oh, yeah. They all put out solo projects.
Okay.
Right. And so, bro, how you say I didn't even know he had his own projects? Yeah. I started talking about Praz. I started talking about Praz 5 minutes ago.
Because I was, it wasn't the best timing. Because I was looking at, as you were talking, I was looking at the Fugees, I was looking at the dates, and I was looking at him, and it's just like, honestly, it was something I was supposed to stay in my head. I just said it out loud.
Oh, okay. A moment of honesty is fine. Yeah. Jeff is experiencing a challenge in real time right now. It would not be challenge day if it wasn't these types of challenges that we had to navigate.
I definitely was speaking out loud. It was supposed to just be in my head.
The one song that came from this album that people might remember was the if I was president, I'd be elected on Friday or something like that. Assassinated on Sundays. If I was president. And so he did the rounds. He did some late night shows. I remember seeing him singing it. And it was just like, it was very, it's a very passionate song. And the way he's got something about his voice that he's not a great singer. He's not even he's not a great rapper, but he's compelling still, right? And the way that one of my favorite songs
about Marley, similar to Bob Marley.
Yeah, similar to Bob Marley, you know, and Rihanna has this song, because I'm not a big fan of that sort of like commercial pop kind of thing, but Rihanna has a song where she is in the fucking space, right? In this song, and it's this liquor's got me something. I don't remember the name of the song, right? But it's a song where she's singing because she's in her feelings because she's drunk, and she's in her feelings when she's drunk. She's like, the liquor's talking, right? And like her voice cracks, you know what I mean? It goes up and down randomly kind of stuff, but like, it's such a good and believable song though, you know? And so Wyclef does this with his voice where it's like the notes ain't hitting exactly, you know what I mean? It's a little bit off kilter a little bit, but it's still melodic and it's still within the range of the chord and stuff. So, but it's distorted a little bit. That makes it it feels more real, right? And I would say this is I don't know if anybody claimed this before. So I'm gonna be the first to say this. It's been since 2004. I did a callback to this. And so now I can take this and own it and says, I've always said since 2004 that this song, the President song, is toe to toe with Nas's If I Ruled the World. The messaging is pretty much the same. The imagery that he sets up is the same kind of sentiment. And the lyrics, when you read it, I mean, when you read the lyrics and you hear it, and the delivery, that song is underrated over time. A lot of people probably don't even remember it, and probably didn't even like. If you listen to that and then you listen to that Nas track back to back, and you'd be like, oh, I get the same elements. I mean, he's from New York too. I mean, he's from Haiti, but you know, I mean, he ended up being a New York, resident growing up in New York. And this is another one too, where like the first track kind of sets the tone, kind of thing, right? The first track of the album kind of sets the beat of how the rest is going to go. There's another song, Haitian Mafia, that kind of made the rounds, but that made some numbers over in other countries. But he set out when he made this album, he's like, I want this to be an authentic album. I don't want it to be no Billboard Top 100 type of cookie cutter type of project. And he established that, and the shit holds up. The shit holds up. And that's 2004. Nearly 20 years later, it holds up. I feel like this thing could be dropped today. It could be dropped today. Foxy Brown is on here.
Oh, we got Foxy Brown there? Okay.
Yep, Foxy Brown's on there. Who else? Sweet Mickey.
He was lit. Yes, of course, Sweet Mickey. Yeah.
Sweet Mickey's on there.
Yep. He was because I'm looking at the track list now.
Yeah, I would suggest, putting your headphones on, give yourself some space. You gotta get up out your seat, put that thing on blast, because you're gonna be shaking a little bit. You're gonna be two-stepping probably. Get your hips swaying a little bit, lubricate them hips a little bit on that one. But them's the vibes. That's us, and that's it for us today. We've got another one in the books. Mission accomplished. I've been Darwin Mesadou. Find me on Twitter at Darwin_Darko.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm Jeff, not Jeffrey. You can see our socials above. But check us out, man. We on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and it's at Another Challenge Day. Check us out, man. Like, comment, subscribe, and yeah, you can see it in the backdrop there. Check us out, man. We giving you the game that you need. So, yeah, Yeah, look us up, man. We appreciate y'all. And we'll see y'all next week.
It's challenge day.